the first part of this.
Yeah. Okay. So we got Joe, Wendy, Jen, Caitlin, and Chris. Jenna.
Hi, good morning.
Jenna?
Sorry, I
Hey,
was
Jenna.
late. Hi.
And hey, Joe.
Hey there, how you guys
Wendy.
doing?
Good. Where's Wendy? Are you there?
I'm here.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. And Jenna. You're mute sometimes. Okay, we're good. Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm here.
So I get, what we did last time is that, everybody's introduced themselves and said, hey, this is what I do, this is where I live. And then we kind of don't have a real specific way of how we do things. So it was more like, and I know that Chris had mentioned this, it's a good way to bitch. We can bitch, like what's going on about work or you can ask questions, we can share ideas. I don't have a real format yet because I want to see how everybody likes this and how consistently every week we can do it, and then maybe we can start talking amongst ourselves what type of format we want to work with. But as of right now, this is kind of just like sitting here and talk. And I don't know about you guys, but I used to have I used to work for the firm with 14 other recruiters where we could, yell at each other and play practical jokes and all that stuff and bounce ideas off each other. And now with COVID, I have one remote employee and one that comes in sometimes. So it's me and the dogs today. So I like this kind of interaction where I can talk to other recruiters because other normal people don't understand what we do. So they're not good at helping us work through our issues. So that's kind of the reason I started this, was to kind of just for a bunch of recruiters, solo guys or people who were working remote or whatever, to get together and just share ideas and think about things, talk about problems, or just generally bitch or say like, hey, I made a deal. I
share
did 5 minutes
successes
before
too.
I got on, I made a deal. So yeah, I mean, I was,
Someone
stuff
to
like
share
that.
Successes with too, because even it's not just the bitching, it's also, what's something that might be a significant win for us making progress on a search that another recruiter would be like, oh, I've been there, I get that. So it's like something else or whatever. That's totally different kind of job. And they're like, okay, that sounds good. Did you place someone? You're like, well, no, but I'm a lot closer, and this is why it's important. There's positives to share too.
Exactly.
Yeah, like
So,
if I have like a search I'm working on, it's driving me nuts, and I finally pulled somebody out of my ass at like the last minute, and they're like done. I can't like text my wife and be like, guess what just happened? Because she's gonna be like, cool, see you later.
Exactly. So if we want to start with, I'm going to start with like on my screen, Caitlin, then Wendy, then Chris, then Kelly, then Jenna, and then Joe, and then me, just to introduce yourself, and then we can start yelling at each other. So you're first, Caitlin.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I'm pretty new to recruiting. I do in-house for an event staffing company, and I'm really just hiring waitresses, waiters and bar staffs, and trying to get more head supervisors. And I'm based in Toronto. Is there anything else I should add? It says it's my first roundtable.
No, that's perfect. Wendy?
I am a dental specific recruiter, working nationwide, and I have my own company and I've got 6 team members. Everybody is virtual.
Chris?
All right. Hey, Chris Wessel. I'm in Albany, New York, which is about 2 hours north of New York City. I think, Tom, you're Baltimore area, right?
Yeah, Annapolis.
I get down to Maryland a lot. I like it down. That's pretty cool.
I get up to New York a lot, so it works out. We can party together.
There you go. Excellent. I do that from time to time. You can't see it, but my booze stash and all the poker table and everything is just a little outside of the camera.
I got it right there.
Yeah, that's how we get through this. So I've been in recruiting for 18 years. I've owned for 13 of those. About 10 years, I had a
What happened? Is that you?
Yeah, I was going
Is
to say
that
we
him?
can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Yeah, can't hear you.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
There's like a muffled noise in the background. Okay. Is that better?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Whoops, sorry. I got to get one of those fancy microphones. I still use the one that's in the computer.
Okay.
Yeah, so I owned firms for the last 13 years. 10 of those years, it was a larger firm, several recruiters, more traditional temp to hire firm, that type of deal, mostly IT. The last few years, I've focused on specifically management hires. And it's actually not in an industry niche, because one of the things I've started to find, I started doing it in technology, then I realized there's a lot of fluidity between at the C level and VP level across industries. Like when I hired a VP of marketing for a tech company, and before that they were at a banking institution, right? So I started to actually, I realized that in my area, in like within like an hour or two of me, there's most of the firms were industry vertical and nobody was really excelling at management hires. So like that's what I basically planted my flag and said that, if you need to hire like VP level, something like that, CEO, I'm your guy in this neck of the woods. So
Interesting. Okay. Kelly?
Longtime recruiter. I specialize in recruiting PhD level scientists, really very, very technical people for biologics companies, large molecule companies,
Wow.
for startups and large companies as well. So live in San Clemente, California, pretty much right on the ocean. And that's it.
Jenna?
Hi, good morning. I have been recruiting, I guess, for the past 7 years, specifically in the tech space. So I'm based out of the Seattle area, so a lot of Microsoft, T-Mobile, that's kind of our main clients. I work with just myself and then the owner of my company. He does like the business dev side and I do all the talent acquisition. And yeah, so I'm the only recruiter for now.
Okay. Okay. And then Joe?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Joe Elizondo. I am based out of the West Coast and like outside of Los Angeles. Technology recruiter, been doing this for about 25 years. I'm a company finally, so I'm just a one-man shop at this point.
Okay. And yeah, Tom Alascio, sorry. I've been recruiting 24 years this year, I think. So I started in 97, worked with a MRI office for 14, started my own firm in 2011, and I work construction, structural engineering, and manufacturing related to construction and structural engineering. So that's it. And so who would like to start the roundtable, or issues, questions, concerns? Anybody want to spearhead something?
I guess if we could just circle back, is everybody doing like full-time placements, contract placements, contract to hire? What's
Anybody here not doing permanent?
I do part-time. Those are the positions we're hiring for right now because it's like servers. So
okay?
Yeah, I do both.
And I
I
do
do
all contract.
subbing.
Okay.
I'll do permanent, and I just am starting to get into subbing, but it's just like gonna be a day here and there, or maybe covering a maternity leave or something. Just getting into it, so we'll see how that goes if I continue.
I do.
Go ahead.
So I feel like one of the things that's tough on Teams, I feel like there's some kind of lag or whatever that I find on Teams versus Zoom, where it seems like there's just you talk over each other more. Sorry about that.
Yes.
I'm primarily for search. I'm primarily retained, but I also do a fair amount of process consulting. So I work with a number of companies on fine-tuning recruiting processes. Like I had a company that was a home health aid company, and they're like, we need to hire like 100 home health aides. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to do that for you. But let's take a look at your systems. Let's take a look at what you're doing. You got 2 recruiters. You say you're using this. You say you're using that. Like I basically did a process audit, which I do from time to time, where I'm like, I'm not going to be able to place someone for you. That's not going to be the solution, but that's kind of fun to do from time to time. It's a nice project to take on.
How do you charge for that?
So here's the interesting thing, because for years and years of monetizing based on a placement fee, it was a tough leap to suddenly like price your time, right? Because we're not used to that, most recruiters. And I had talked to a lot of HR consultants I knew and other people that did more consulting work. And I realized that hourly is like a freaking nightmare. And it's also, if you bill hourly, then you have a customer is like expecting to see like what each hour consisted of and that kind of thing. And I ended up gravitating towards a flat fee. And I just kind of had to, I did a little trial and error in the beginning and kind of figured, okay, let me charge this company. I think it's going to take me this amount of time. I'll have my VA work on some stuff. I'm going to charge them $5,000, or I'm going to charge them 10. And then it just kind of tweaked it from there, but it would be like a flat fee for the deliverable, because I found that if you try to do it by hourly, they're focused on what you do in each hour as opposed to X amount of dollars to do this project. But I also was, it's tough though, because right, like you try not to shoot yourself in the foot by like pricing it too low. It's like you're a contractor doing a fixed price project. You don't want to, lose money on it. So.
Yeah, I did my first RPO type thing, and I charged by the hour, and you're right, it was an absolute nightmare. I didn't know anything about it. And there was a guy that I knew who started a consulting firm, and he wanted some help, and I felt bad trying to, charge him $25,000 or whatever to find a candidate for him, because he had 2 employees. So I'm like, I can do an RPO for you, and I ended up charging him like, I don't know, $800 or $900 when it was all said and done, because it just seems so difficult to like track my time. Like, how do I track my time? How do I figure out when I was working on his? And it just, I don't think I'd ever want to do RPO unless I had a specific team doing RPO. It was just,
right.
To me, it was a nightmare.
Because with that, when you have a team doing it, you can look at their cost and look at the project, and it's straightforward. But we're also used to doing so many things. Even right now, I'm like making final touches on our resume that I'm going to pop over to somebody. Like we're doing so many different things at once. It's so fragmented that there's no way you would actually be like, oh, I spent an hour and a half on that today. Like, nightmare.
Did anybody else do any type of RPO or contract or consulting work, and how do you charge?
I do. I charge a lot because the kind of jobs that I have
that's a good way to go.
Yeah, I charge a lot of money. And I don't, so the way that I do it is just basically kind of like an attorney would. I just give, they're paying for my time no matter what. So I just keep it pretty vague, not vague, but most of the time that I charge for and what they're really paying for with my projects is sourcing. That's where I make all my money from. They're looking for candidates. I do everything else as well, but the bulk of my time is done sourcing. And so I charge a lot of money per hour to find them candidates, and the way that I just basically, say sourcing and outreach. Even if I've done like something else, the bulk of my time is doing that. So I don't think you have to really make it that specific. At least I don't. I think they just want a general idea of what you're doing, and at the end of the day, what their value from that was.
Outcomes. Yeah.
Right. So, if they're not getting what it is that they're really trying to achieve, which is candidates, I don't even necessarily make a placement from that. They're just looking for candidate generation and see what's out there and stuff like that. And so I think, generally you should just ask what it is that they're really looking for, and then make your bill according to that. It's really simple. I just do a really simple Word doc, send it to them. I've never not gotten paid, whether I've gotten a placement or not. Never, ever had an issue getting paid. Some clients I don't even have a contract with. So, yeah, I think you can, at least I've been able to do that. I think, if they have a problem with it, then they'll ask.
Yeah. I don't have a single signed fee agreement that I can remember. Every one of my contract is basically, hey, I mean, I send them a fee agreement. I don't ever expect that they want to sign it, great. But I just say, hey, I'm going to find you a candidate. It's going to cost you $3,000 to $5,000 for me to do the search, and it's going to cost you $25,000 to $20,000 when I fill the position. Are you willing to pay that? Yes, I am. That's as long as they tell me they'll pay me. And I've not been screwed in 11 years under my own company, and only screwed twice when I worked at my old company.
You know, I
Now
think
that
there's,
I've mentioned this, I'm gonna get screwed this week. Watch me.
but I think, you know, as we look at maybe some of us going into a recession, there is a market for hourly work. And so you can still keep, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars coming in on this model. And, you know, it's a win-win situation for the company and for you.
And that's actually when I started exploring some of that was late 2020, as companies I'd worked with over the years were starting to trickle back into hiring, right? Because first, no hiring, then hiring, but we don't have any money for recruiting fees. Then, you know, now we are where we are, which is bananas. But like, there was a window where they were ready to hire again, but they couldn't quite justify full recruiting fees because they were still emerging from all the craziness. And so that's when I started to get creative, and I'm like, okay, well, I can still help them, right? Like and so a lot of these consulting arrangements, they all originated from customers I had relationships with already. So that was helpful because you could kind of beta test with them a little bit. It was not really anybody new. It was like, hey, I've been hiring people for you on and off for years. The usual way we do it, I realize it might not make sense for you right now to like outlay this amount of money. Now I want to help you. Let's dive into like how I can add value and it can make sense for both of us. And that's where a lot of this came from.
That's really good. That's a great idea.
Well,
Tom,
you know,
you're new
there's-
to the group. Hold on, I'm sorry, Kelly. 1 second.
well,
Tom,
I was just
introduce
gonna,
yourself.
real quick, I was just gonna say there's, you know, again, there's pluses and minuses. When you do that, sometimes you get roped into doing stuff you would never have to do as like a straight retained recruiter. I mean, technically it's retained. I only work retained. You get sucked into the kind of crap, you know, that you would never have to do. So there's always a give and take.
That's a good point. Tom?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, we all introduce ourselves, say where you know where we're located and what niche we work, kind of just, you know, just so we know who each other is.
Sure. And I apologize. I joined late. I was having some issues
No
with
worries.
Teams. I'm Tom Byrne. I'm with a company called Rita Technology Services based out of Tampa, Florida. We're an IT search and consulting firm, been in business over 40 years. I've been doing IT and tech recruiting for 32 years. Do mostly contingency with a little bit of engage retain.
Perfect. So I guess, is there anybody else who wants to comment on the, you know, how do you do business differently than just a simple, you know, 25% fee, $3,000 engagement or contingency? Any comments on what Kelly or Chris had mentioned?
I do a flat fee instead, which can be good, but also cannot be good sometimes. But I guess that's kind of my only difference. I asked for 50% up front and then 50% upon placement. And but I'm kind of in a really weird niche that like everybody in dentistry says that they're really poor. So but there's a lot of other recruiters within dentistry that they just make it seem like it's impossible, and I'm like, I don't think you're trying hard enough then. So yeah.
Do you feel you're getting a fair, like, you know, 20, 25, 30% for what you're doing?
Yeah, I think I mean, it's not 25 for sure. I don't think any dental office would do that. I think my thing is I don't want to wait for payment because a lot of times the doctors are paid like a daily rate and then collections on top of that, like how much they produce. So and it's hard to average how much somebody might end up getting. So I just charge a flat fee for dentists across the board. And even if it's like 2 days a week or 3 days a week, you hired me to find somebody for you. And, you know, it doesn't make a difference to me if they bring in, you know, X amount of dollars,
Okay.
but
Okay, it's like kind of almost like a sales rep.
no, what? No? Like a sales rep?
I was saying, like, sometimes like a commission sales rep, you don't know what they're
Oh.
going to make on the back end. Like, and I always try when I do a couple positions where they get a base salary plus commission, and I always, you know, talk to the employer about what's the guarantee or what do you think he's going to make, and we try to, you know, base the fee upon, because the base salary, like I just made a placement literally right before I came on. The base salary 67, and the backlog of commissions is going to be another 36, so it's like 104. And the fee is going to be 25 grand. Whereas if it was just the base salary, you're talking what, $16,000. So that's a huge gap right there.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy that I found them was already making 100. So I tried, you know, when you talk to the employers, like, look, I'm bringing you a guy who's making 100. I want to be paid on a guy who's making 100, not a guy who's making 60. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
And actually, on the topic of flat fees, I've kind of dabbled in a bit of that, where in some situations where I could kind of sense that the customer was concerned about how crazy the market could be in terms of salaries and stuff like that, or if I knew I was up against, like, I don't know, traditional contingency firm or Robert Half or something like that, right? What I would sometimes do is actually cap the fee based on
I've done that.
an agreed to target, right? Like I'm not gonna base it on a stupid number. We're gonna base it on a real number. So like, okay, we're gonna hire for this position. We both agree that 250K is about where we need to be. I'm gonna charge you based on that. If it ends up being 270 to get the deal done, I'm not gonna charge you a few $1,000s like that, you know. And that I found sometimes they like that because they feel like, you know, we're kind of sitting on the same side of the table. So I told them, I'm like, if you're targeting 150 for a job and everyone I bring you is a 165 or 170, you're not going to trust me. You're going to think that, like, okay, he's just sending me the expensive people. So if we agree that what a reasonable amount is, and then we're kind of we're both sacrificing a little, but like we can trust each other. And if that's all I can find, that means that really is all I can find.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's great. And I do very, very similar type thing where we cap it at 50 grand, or we say, you know, it's going to be, you know, you're going to hire somebody between 100 and 150,000. Let's meet in the middle and we'll cap the fee at 28,000. And then that way it doesn't matter what I bring them.
And I also found that helps grease the wheels on procurement in larger companies, because I've had a hiring manager, a VP of our HR, tell me, listen, I'm going to have an easier time approving this if it's not a variable amount. Right. So he's like, if you can say that this is going to be like 60K max, like I'll get a purchase order for that much and I can get this approved and we can work on this.
Oh, that's a good point. That's a really good point. I never thought, you know, I don't.
Customer told me that, and I was like, you're totally right.
Next story, question, concern. I hate my client. I hate my ATS. I hate my email system. Anybody?
Let's talk about coaches on Facebook. I'm just kidding. I kid. That would be a disaster.
Oh, are you talking about all the? Oh my God! I can't.
Where do these videos come
people that
from?
are expert $1 million billers. How many there are out there?
Also, these videos are dropping. Everybody's a coach. It's great. I could, if this
by so many groups.
Yeah.
And that's a serious question. I mean, do you guys feel like our industry would benefit from some type of regulation or licensing board or something that we could be recognized, and that, you know, like a realtor, they have to jump through a little bit of hoops. You got to go to a school, you got to pass a test, right? And then once you get your realtor license, boom, you're ready. And it's not so overbearing, but you can't just put a sign in your yard and call yourself a realtor, right? Whereas in anybody with a damn phone and an email can be a recruiter if they want, and then that drives me insane sometimes.
Especially when you have a lot of coaches encouraging it and basically saying that's all you need to do. And they're like, here's how you get job specs. And then it's like, but what do you do with them once you have them? And how do you actually manage this whole process from start to finish and get a candidate on board and sell the opportunity, manage through the interview process, manage through the offer process, get it to close? They don't talk about any of that shit. They just talk about how to get job work. So I'm like, there's a whole lot more to it, dude. Sorry.
And how I remember so often having to sell in my earlier years against, we used a recruiter, but we got fucked. You know, they took our fee. We never saw them again. The guy lasted a week. I mean, that was a huge objection over not willing to pay a fee or we don't have any openings. It was, yeah, we use a recruiter and you guys are horrible. And I feel like just a little bit, doesn't have to be what a bar association or a professional engineer, but just something that, gets a little bit of regulation to it that says, hey, do you have your recruiter license and are you bonded? So we know we're not going to get screwed or something like that. That's just me though, I guess. 24 years of dealing with those idiots.
I know some people kind of voluntarily try to look more credible by getting certifications and things like that. I think that is something some people try to do to differentiate, but yeah, it's tough. I mean, the barrier to entry is so low, and on the one hand, people who suck sometimes make my job easier and sometimes make my job
management recruiters had a thing called CSAM, Certified Senior Account Manager, that you could certify through the company, that management recruiters would tout as a certification. And I guess if you bought into the whole management recruiters franchise type thing back when I started, I could see how that could benefit. But again, it doesn't matter because now management recruiters is not defunct, but it's nowhere near what it was 15 years ago, and I don't think anybody gives a shit if you're a CSAM or not. Anybody here XMRI? No, really.
I'm very familiar with them, and good old fashioned phrases like NPC come from that world. And all that, but I never worked there, but I was very familiar with it.
NPC is most placeable candidate. POJO is pre-existing presentation on existing job order. And then we get can helps.
Guys,
what do you say?
I said, did DNU come from you guys? So maybe that predates even MRI.
I don't think. What's DNU?
Do not use.
Do not use or do not recruit. Yeah.
No.
A couple of people were like, I know what that is.
I never heard Purple Squirrel before. Till just recently. Have you all heard Purple Squirrel?
Purple Squirrel, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we called them rock stars. Somebody had mentioned Purple Squirrel in a Reddit group that I was in. I'm like, what the hell is a purple squirrel? I had never heard of that.
It's been around a long time. Well, I've been around a long time.
To us, it's rock star. I've heard unicorn, but yeah, the purple squirrel thing was kind of like, and then everybody's like, dude, you've been doing this 24 years. You've never heard that term? I'm like, no. And I thought I would hear that something at an MRI, because I went to the pace setter trips, and at one time I think they had 2,900 employees across all the franchises, and yeah, that was just strange to hear purple squirrel. I was like, okay, something new, learn something new.
The great thing about this line of work, you learn something new every day. Mm-hmm. Sometimes good, sometimes bad, but every day.
Anybody here not use an applicant tracking system, an ATS, and I know two old school guys who are here. I mean, what are you using, Chris? And Tom, what do you use?
Chris, go ahead.
Oh, sure. I've been using CATS for about 9 years, I guess, which Top Echelon bought not that long ago.
Yeah.
I used it when I had about 5 or 6 recruiters working for me, and our team was probably like 8 or 9 of us all together. After I wound down and, kind of just went solo, I still use it. I like it. I know there's better ones out there, but it does what I need it to do pretty much. There's other applications out there, but you can be reluctant to jump to something else because you got to move all your data.
Yeah.
And it's, it gets the job done, but yeah.
Yeah, I've been using Loxo for about 5 years now.
Me too.
Have you? Yeah. We had to do a lot of customization to it because we brought over 40 something years of data from a previous ATS. Yeah, we were using a product called Sendouts for about 2 years,
I
and then
remember
I
Bullhorn
remember
bought
that.
them,
Yeah,
and
Bullhorn.
we
Yeah.
said bye-bye to Bullhorn because I never liked Bullhorn. If anybody's using it, good luck.
I used it years ago. I used that years ago. I used iSIMS years ago, although I hear it's better now, but it used to be horrible years ago.
It's
And
still
like,
bad.
yeah.
We had Recruit Max when they first came out. That was a very, I mean, you're talking probably not 2000 or 2001, and
Yeah.
it
Remember
was
PC
they had
Recruiter?
an OCR and everything. It was a good system when it first came out, but man, the price. I think all they do is big corporate deals now. I don't even think they do guys like me and you.
Is PC Recruiter still around?
Yeah,
That's
what
a
I
friend
use.
of mine that
Yeah,
uses that.
yeah, they're still
Okay.
around.
I used that like 15 or more years ago. Yeah, something
It's
like that.
by far my favorite ATS system I've ever worked with.
Yeah, that PC Recruiter, CPAL, Loxo, I think are the ones that I hear the most about as the newer ones that everybody likes. You know, and then like once you're into one of those three, you're like don't want to leave because like you were saying, Tom, trying to migrate. Because I had an issue with Loxo a couple months ago, and I kid you not, I demoed almost 20 different ATSs, every single one that was out there, the free ones, the expensive ones, and Loxo is still, I mean, CPAL's not CPAL, Crelate. Sorry, Crelate. Crelate's pretty
I
damn
like
good.
Mhm.
PC Recruiter's good. Tracker isn't bad, but they just to touch what Loxo gives you, everything, you know, with the voice over IP and everything. It's a tough to move out of there.
Yeah,
And
we did the
if you
same
do any
thing.
CRM, yeah.
We did the same thing about 5 years ago. Looked at about probably not as many as you did, probably 10 to 12. You know, they all have their pros and cons. And unfortunately, there's no one solution that's going to fit everybody's needs. But Loxo's been very, very good to us, and I think we probably maximize it the best that we possibly can. I mean, if you have tips and tricks you're willing to share, Tom,
I
feel
don't think
free.
I maximize mine, but you know, right now, I like my biggest issue is getting a hold of people. I feel like trying to call people. I mean, I'm a big old school. I call everybody on the phone. I mean, you know, try to make
Mile and
phone
dial.
calls every day. Yeah.
and it's tough right now. So I'm trying other avenues to, you know, should I do an email campaign? And also, and I think I mentioned this in the last meeting, if anybody remembers, I'll have a search. Okay, so I do a lot. One of my biggest clients is the largest steel manufacturer in the United States, a company called Nucor. Right? They have a metal building division. They got a joist and deck division. They got a panel division. So they need engineers. I need like 20 engineers at any given time, and they'll hire new grads right out of school, $74,000 base salary plus benefit. I mean, the guys will make 85, but they're in the ridiculously middle of nowhere locations, right? So how do I call 50 engineers in Chicago and ask them if they want to move to El Paso, Illinois, or Norfolk, Nebraska? It's like brain damage. So I'm trying to do this thing where I'll send out mass emails to the EITs, you know, 1 or 2 years experience, and Sales Navigator is like way better than LinkedIn Recruiter, and I'm able to do a much better search on it. And then, you know, getting the phone numbers, getting the emails, I use something called Sales Quill, and then put them into the Loxo CRM is kind of what I'm doing now. Does anybody have any tips in terms of like, are you guys doing campaigns? What do you use to find phone numbers? Does anybody else use Sales Quill? How about LinkedIn automation? Anything like that?
I've been using Loxo's outreach campaigns now for probably 2 years. I have my team doing it. What we're finding is, you know, whether you use a product like Loxo or anything else for outreach campaigns, we use a multi-pronged approach. So Loxo gives you the ability, you could do phone calls, you could do emails, you can do text messages, you can set it up at different sequences, different stages. So I may have an 8-stage campaign that I've built out. It may take me 15 minutes to build it out and put the emails I want to put in there, set up the stages, the frequency of when I want to reach out to them. And I'll have 1 or 2, if it's an 8-stage, I'll have 2 stages that are text messages. I'm finding, and what we're finding is most candidates are following up with us through text messages. It could be, hey, I'm interested, send me more information, or no, I'm happy, or, stop or leave me alone. But we're getting those responses. We're having a challenge getting a hold of people on the phone, just like everybody else with caller ID. If they recognize your number and they know you're a recruiter and they don't have an interest, they're not going to answer it. If they don't recognize your phone number, they're still not going to answer it. So it goes to voicemail. I could talk to you offline on that, Tom, about how to do it in Loxo. I use a third
I mean, I
party.
know how to do it. I was worried about the texting. I've been poo-pooing texting, but you're the second or third person who've told me like they're having results with texting. So maybe I'm out of touch.
Yeah, and I do all my texting through Loxo. This way, everything stays within the ATS and it's tied to every candidate and every job. But aside from that, I've been using a third-party product I just started using 2 months ago called Octopus CRM, which allows me to reach out. It's tied to my LinkedIn Recruiter Lite. You can also tie it to Sales Navigator or LinkedIn Recruiter. It allows me to go out, and I use it primarily. I can push out up to 20 to 50 LinkedIn connections through Octopus CRM. I go on my LinkedIn Recruiter, I find the people, I click a button, I reach out to the people. I can either do a visit if I want to do a visit, just to let them know I visited their site, their LinkedIn page, or I can do a connection request, or I can do it in 1 or 2 sequences. The reason why I do that is within LinkedIn Recruiter, I can only send out 1 connection request at a time. I can't do a bulk connection request through LinkedIn Recruiter or free LinkedIn. I use Octopus CRM. I pull them in the Octopus CRM. Then once those messages go out, and they have a setup where it's staggered 20 seconds in between each connection request. So it knows it doesn't flag you. LinkedIn doesn't flag you as using an automation tool, because if they find you using an automation tool, they'll cut you off. Okay. Hopefully nobody in here on this call works for LinkedIn. So anyways, I use that. Then what I do, Tom, is I take the candidate, the people from Octopus CRM, I dump them through Octopus CRM into a CSV, and then I import everybody into Loxo. And I map the fields. It only takes me 2-3 minutes to do that. So I can target 20, 30, 50 people on LinkedIn, reach out to them automatically. Okay. And again, it's set to go 20 seconds in between. So if I have 20 connections I'm doing, it's going to take a little time to reach out, but it does it automatically to them. And I have a little canned email. You have templates in there. Anyways, it does it all for me. I get it into Loxo. Once I have it into Loxo, then I work within Loxo. Okay, I get their email addresses, their phone numbers, and then I start reaching out to them through Loxo, and I'll set them up through an outreach campaign and let Loxo automate everything.
What are you paying for Octopus?
There's 4 different plans. I only pay like $25 a month.
Yeah, the same thing you described is available through a new ATS I found when I was doing my search called jobin.cloud. And they have the whole automation with LinkedIn. And you're right, like if anybody here looks for jobin.cloud or Octopus, there's also a company called Linktra. The way they have it done for the LinkedIn automation so you don't get flagged is it works at what's called human speeds. So I always tell everybody, if you're going to do any type of campaign with anything like Jobin or Octopus, is you can't go on your LinkedIn. You have to be completely off your LinkedIn, because I got flagged the first time I did it. I set up a profile, right, to like send out 50 LinkedIn connection requests. And then I went on my other LinkedIn and I'm just doing it. And all of a sudden I get a, hey, you're using something for automation. This is your first warning. We're going to cancel you. So the one thing that I like is I've found a company called SalesQuill, SalesQL. And it's $39 a month for 1,600 phone or email lookups on LinkedIn. And they'll do 25 at a time. So let's say you go to Navigator or you go to LinkedIn Recruiter and you find 25, 50, whatever it is, people you like, their little widget pops up in the right-hand side. You hit it and it'll, if you wanted to, hit select all. It'll select all 25, look up their phone numbers and their emails, put it on their website, and then when you're done, let's say you look up 100 people, it does it in a CSV that you put right into Loxo with the emails and the phone numbers for you. So with Jobin, what I was trying to figure out, and this is what I had mentioned, I think, and Chris, I think you even commented on it maybe about two ATSs. What I was trying to do is what you're doing, Tom, and have the campaign set up so I can have automation in LinkedIn, right? So it's like when they get the email from me in the CRM, it's like, hey, this is Tom Alashio. I'm a headhunter. I'm great. I'm wonderful. I got a great, wonderful position. By the way, I'll also send you a LinkedIn connection, right? So now they get the LinkedIn connection from me. They get the email from me, right? And then now I'm going to do the text. 2 days later, hey, by the way, this is Tom Alashio. I sent you an email. I sent you a LinkedIn connection. I'm texting you now. You know, I'm a pain in the ass. Either tell me you're interested or not. So I'm trying. That's what I was trying to figure out with the dual ATS, like how to implement those two things together, so I don't get. I have ADHD really bad, and I don't want to get overly involved in all this automation. But also, organization is tough for me. So trying to figure out how to do the LinkedIn request automated so I can do 50 or 100 at a time while I'm sending out 100 emails is what I've been trying to work through. That's been I've been thinking about this. I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning staring at the ceiling going, okay, if I do this first and then this, well, you know, it's just driving me insane because I don't want to switch. Like Jobin is a fantastic ATS. And if Loxo exploded tomorrow, that's who I'd sign up for in a heartbeat. But because they just implemented a CRM with all the different trees and everything. So I'm trying to I'm going to probably pay like $50 or $60 a month for the one tier on Jobin and try to somehow get it to work with Loxo. That's where I am right now.
Yeah, I played around with Jobin too. I just don't want to have a separate CRM ATS. It's just too much. It's too much work. So with Octopus CRM, I bring them in through LinkedIn, and then I have them do the automation to reach out to people, send a connection request. Then I dump everything in the Loxo, and then I delete the people out of the Octopus CRM, and I just keep doing the process over and over and over.
I got to figure out how, like the phone numbers and emails. Are you using the 100 credits you get from Loxo? We're paying more for them because I'm trying to figure out how to implement the credits I get from SalesQuill. So I don't how do I I love your idea with I'm gonna go check Octopus when we get off the phone because that's what I'm looking for. It's some type of LinkedIn automator that I can mesh with Loxo. And there is one called Sourcewell. But it's
Sourcewell is another one.
$250.
Linked Helper. I think it's called Linked Helper. It's been around for years. It's another one. And then another one I just looked at, Esferas, ESFERAS, which is some recruiting guys put it together. That's I think like $49 a month. And it's supposed to be a lot more robust than like an Octopus or Sourcewell. But I haven't signed up for it. Esferas, ESFERAS. ESFERAS. Yeah, Esferas. I don't know if it's esferas.io or .co or something like that, but
is it a CRM?
No, it is it's a tool to basically be able to scrape LinkedIn profiles and other other profiles. I may have misspelled it, Tom. I've got it bookmarked.
Yeah,
I could send it to you.
Yeah, will you email me that? Because I like that's kind of like where I'm stuck in my recruiting process. If anybody can comment when Tom and I stop jibber jabbing on how you're implementing LinkedIn and in terms of trying to find candidates that may help us. Anyone? No.
Well, I haven't done I've been experimenting with some automation, but I actually kind of have somewhere between automation and a full-blown employee here in the US is using a VA. And so I use that for a lot of the in-between stuff. So I'll set search criteria in like my LinkedIn recruiter or whatever, or Indeed or whatever I'm searching in. And then if I feel like I have a decent list, like, okay, this is about the right number of people, I'll be like, all right, now go in and add them all into CATS, right? You just go to the profile and just add them as a profile. Double checking that there isn't it's one thing that CATS kind of sucks at is it's not very good at identifying duplicates. It does based on email address, but when you add a LinkedIn profile, if you don't have their email address, now you might have 2 John Smiths in there, right? Well, John Smith, you have a lot.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah, so I have him kind of double check that stuff as he adds it, and then to Tom's point, like any outreach I do, I organize it through my ATS. So like I get whatever source everybody came from, they all got to go into the one place, and that's how I can make sure that I'm not duplicating efforts, or don't want to just message somebody on LinkedIn and then also message them through another source, and then you're all over the place. So a common thread there where I kind of funnel it into a place where I can manage it. And then I can, you can create lists like most of these have, or, you drop them into a job pipeline and you've created workflow steps based on whatever your preferences are. Attempted, second attempt, blah, blah, blah. Getting everyone in there, I haven't really used a lot of automation tools. I've mostly had like my VA do stuff and he's been working for me for like 4+ years now. So he kind of knows what I need him to do. But I have been thinking about better ways to utilize them. And then also, like, even if I have him looking up email addresses, he messes around with some tools, but like the SalesQL, when I want to take a look at that.
Yeah, dude, I was impressed as hell at SalesQuill because they verify numbers too and emails. They put a check mark if it's verified.
Because like you, I grew up raised on the phone, making calls all the time. And fortunately, since I've mostly been focusing on the senior management type of hires, the people I call are my age or older. So they're pretty receptive to the phone stuff.
Yeah.
So getting their phone numbers is of value. Sometimes, I still initiate contact through email, or if we can't get email, like an email or something like that. But I'm kind of fortunate in that regard that like I can still make pretty good use of the phone, because if I call like a CFO, pretty chances are pretty good that they've been in the workforce long enough that they're not like, why are you calling me on the phone? So
I started using it.
That is it right there.
Yeah, I started using a free tool. It's not a it's not a tool like the ones you mentioned. It doesn't find contact information, but if anybody's doing any type of like Google site X-ray searches, like I'll do a site X-ray search of LinkedIn, because even with a LinkedIn paid account, you still don't get access to people that have their profiles blocked or turned off.
Yeah.
When you do a site X-ray search through Google, they're all public. Each one of those URLs are public. So you do a site X-ray search, you get access to hopefully everybody around the world through that site X-ray search. So what I'll do then is I'll do it through Google. I'll narrow down my keywords doing my Boolean string. Then I started using this tool called Instant Data Scraper. It's free. It will not work while you're on LinkedIn, though. It'll only work when you're using Google. So you're using Google Chrome and you're doing in Google search, you just download the Instant Data Scraper Chrome if you're using Chrome.
Yeah, I see it right
and
now.
what it does is it'll take all those profiles on the page. It could be 2, 3, 5 pages, 10 pages deep, or how many pages you want, depending on how you narrow down your search. And what it does is it takes all that information on the screen, each page that you want. It will scrape it, dump it into a CSV, and then I turn from there and I put it right back into my Loxo. Then I work with it from there, because I have found some profiles on LinkedIn by using the site X-ray search versus finding them using my LinkedIn Recruiter Lite account or even the free LinkedIn account.
And I just dropped another one in there that has been around for years, the Recruitment Geek X-ray LinkedIn.
Yeah.
I've been using that one for a long time. That one's been around for quite a while. Still works pretty well. And if you're decent at Boolean,
is that recruiting.net?
Yes. Yeah, recruiting.net is the website, and it's called Recruit EM. Recruit EM.
I could use some help because I have that. Plus, there's an X-ray on Jobin. It's free.
Okay.
And I just have not done a good. And maybe it's my industry. I don't know. I've not had any success doing X-ray searches, and I would love that. That's one thing that, like, I hear people talk about it all the time, but I've yet to. And maybe I need to start messing around with that. And because this has LinkedIn, Dribble, GitHub, Xing, Stackflow, and Twitter. So on this thing, when you hit LinkedIn, is it searching Google for LinkedIn, or is it searching LinkedIn?
Well, if you're using Google and you're doing a site X-ray search of LinkedIn, the site LinkedIn, it's searching LinkedIn.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Easily use Google to search LinkedIn profiles. Okay. Or you can
Right.
search GitHub. Okay.
Right.
Okay. I got it now. Okay. And then
if
you
you're,
use Data Scraper. Okay.
yeah, so like Data Scraper, you can use, let's say you went out to, real quickly, what industry do you work, Tom?
Engineered products, metal buildings, joist, deck, steel.
So are those people typically on LinkedIn or no?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Oh,
yeah.
okay. All right. Well, then
And
just use
engineers, like
LinkedIn.
structural engineers. I can find all the structural engineers that you could find. I could use that. That is
Okay.
another one that is very important to me.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so if you guys have, does everybody have time? Everybody has to go. I mean, that's fine. But if you want, I mean, I was going to show you. Let me see this here. To give you an idea of how I see. When I discovered somebody, again, if you guys don't go on Reddit, join just the Reddit recruiting thing and just stalk it, because this is how I found out about LinkedIn or the Sales Quill. I was absolutely I could not believe how good Sales Quill works. I was just absolutely mind blowing.
I want to check that out because you definitely piqued my interest there.
Now,
So
Tom,
we're
what was the page on Reddit, or where do you go on Reddit?
So reddit.com/r/recruiting. Don't go to recruiter, go to recruiting.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're nuts. They don't want to go
All right.
that one. So
Yeah,
here,
there's some rabbit holes you can end up on Reddit. You could lose days to that. Some of those.
I can just drop a link too.
There you go.
Okay.
okay, that's perfect. So here is, does everybody see my screen?
Yeah.
So this is Sales Navigator, and I did a list. I'm looking for a solar engineer. So I did solar call high cost of living. Anybody who's got a solar background with an engineering degree that lives in San Francisco, Miami, Washington, New York City, Chicago, right? So I did this, and I got, so far I'm 146, but I haven't kind of thinned it out yet. But I have so many of the Sales Quill credits, it doesn't matter. So up at the top right, see my mouse, the top right, there's a Sales Quill thing, and then there's a drop down, right? So I hit that, select 25, I hit add an update, and right now it's searching now it may stall because I didn't go all the way down. Yeah, so it's not going to stall. So it's now searching all 25. If you see already, for Akthon Judu Rasmus Bapu, it's got 2 emails, 2 phone numbers, and the file that it put him in, right? Same with Rajat and everything. So while that's working, then you go to the next page, and it keeps putting in. You can make all these folders within Sales Quill. So I can do a folder called Solar High Cost of Living. It's identical to the search that I do in Sales Navigator. So then when you go over to Sales Quill, if you can spell, oh, come on, really?
Hey, Tom, how accurate do you find the data, the information, the contact info?
As good as Loxo and as good as Zoom info.
So why are you paying for it on Loxo? How long ago did you join Loxo?
I only get 100 a month with Loxo. I get 1,000 with these guys.
Oh, wow. Big difference. Yeah.
Do you get the unlimited or something?
I get the unlimited. Yeah, we get the unlimited through Loxo because we've had them for so long.
Yeah, I didn't. And that's the mistake I made when I first joined Loxo. I didn't sign up for that particular. I completed all fields correctly. What are you talking about? So that is that was the thing. Like, they give me, whenever I ask, though, they're really cool. They give me free emails and stuff. And
So while you're doing that, it sounds like the Sales QL scrapes contact information, not only from LinkedIn profiles, but probably other social media profiles, as if it's getting you.
That's the problem. It does.
It's only in LinkedIn.
That's the big thing that I don't know why this is doing this. That's the big thing that that the Zoom info sells against them, right? Is that they they get you information from elsewhere. There we go. And so this is what it looks like when it does. So I've only used 186 of my 1600, and I just did 25. I did some other campaigns recently, but so they went into my first folder. So if you look, there's where he works, his phone number, and then see the check marks that verifies if it's a legit phone number, right? So
Nice.
if they have an exclamation point, they don't know if it's. And again, they don't get them all, right? Like Axel Bernal, they don't have everything on him. And then up here, the export button, that's where you hit export, and you can do a CSV or an XLS, and then it just sends them all, and they, then you go to your drive, and do I have one recently? I don't think I have any.
So does
recent.
it take their LinkedIn profile and dump it into a CSV along with the contact info?
Yeah. So it's everything.
Okay.
So it's the last three, and this is my problem with Loxo. Loxo, when you do a CSV, only their most recent job, their most recent work history, you can't get the second and third, and all that's included in this CSV, right? And what they give you here is everything, basically their skills, their schooling, their company's name, their company's LinkedIn profile, everything is available in the CSV, and Loxo doesn't allow all that to parse in. And that kind of, so what I have my VA do, or my assistant do, is go back and just hit the Loxo Chrome widget to update each person, right? To get all that in there once I get the phone numbers and stuff.
Yeah, actually, this looks better than that Octopus CRM I've been using, and it's only about $15 more.
And this does not do any type of LinkedIn automation, though.
Right.
That's the problem. But it easily scrapes all the information off LinkedIn that's available. It tells you which is verified and whatnot, and you can set up like folders. Like, let me see if there's any of these, because I deleted a bunch. Like, yeah, there's 100. The service center, the service managers. Oh, yeah. So I had them in different folders, so I can look at each one and see where they are, and then export them. And then the settings allows you to how you want to organize the columns, how you want to sort the data, how you want to display emails. I mean, and they keep updating it. Like every couple months, there's something new, right? Like that's when they first started out, the folders didn't exist, and their widget right up here is kind of weird. And whenever it updates, you have to delete it and reinstall it. So I think that's why I had to put in new info. But other than that, I mean, it's for the price compared to someone on one of the recruitment groups I'm in on Facebook said, hey, I have a seat on Zoom, and I think it was like $1,200 or $1,300 because he's got 20 other recruiters and they're all splitting the cost of Zoom. And so I went on Zoom and got them to give me a free trial, and I was not impressed with, like, I don't need the CRM, first of all, and they wanted to charge me $8,000 for my own seat. I wasn't impressed with the CRM. And and I did side-by-side searches with Loxo, SalesQuill, and Zoom in terms of getting phone numbers and emails, and I didn't see any discernible difference at all. So that's why I didn't get the Zoom info, just because, for even the $1,200 was, you're not giving me anything because I can get the numbers from SalesQuill and Loxo. That's kind of what how I've gotten to where I've gotten today with all this.
Right.
And this is where I'm stuck, right? So I do this, right? I go to Navigator, I get all my candidates I want to call, I do this, and then my next step from here is to put them into Loxo, and then in my opinion, it's not complete. And then how do I do the automation on LinkedIn? So my other thought was, from here, I import them into Jobin, do the LinkedIn automation, and then report them into Loxo at the same time. And then and when I put them into Loxo campaign, say, I sent you a LinkedIn connection, because Jobin's already done it for me, or Octopus has already done it for me, right? And then from there, do the CRM. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's why I asked anybody used 2 different
CRMs.
CR,
Yeah.
You know,
or
it's so much
ATS
easier to-
because of that.
It's so much easier to talk through all this live too, like the linear nature of a Facebook post in the comments, the stuff, what you were laying out, I was like, I get what you're saying. I'm like, but it's tough to just capture it all in like a really long comment. You kind of got to talk through.
So let me
Actually, I have to jump because I got to get ready for a 2:00, but like I could probably do
Okay.
this today if I had the time. So thank you for pulling this together. I'll definitely.
Of course. And I'll set it up again for next. We'll do it every week. But this is the job-in thing.
This is
And
great. Thank you.
so there's the. Yeah, go ahead, man. And so there's like I just did. And that's the one thing, Tom. I don't know if you use it or not. Do you use the retract? Does Octopus have a retract? Withdraw?
What is that?
So okay, so right now, and this is kind of cool. So I have the free version of Jobin right now, right? So on the dashboard, it'll show me connection requests, how many invitations I sent with Jobin, how many new connections, how many messages, and whatnot, how many people viewed my profile, and then I have 269 connection invitations, right? Right now, I have sent out 269 invitations, and yesterday I had 425. I used Loxo to withdraw. See the withdraw right here?
Mm-hmm.
Withdraw all 269. Withdraw invitations older than 60
Oh,
days.
I see you. Yeah, Octopus doesn't have anything like that, and it doesn't give you any kind of metrics like this. This is nice. Now, let me ask
So
you
if you
this:
wanna-
did you take your Loxo database and dump it into Jobin, or are you just using Jobin when you're scraping LinkedIn profiles and putting them into Jobin and into Loxo?
No, so I like you said, I don't